Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg, episode 329. It just keeps rolling. So we are playing some Monster Hunter. This is the Monster Hunter Rise demo that Lego and I played a little bit on stream earlier this week, and it seems pretty cool so far. You know, like I said, I'd rather it was on PC, the whole thing, you know. I'd rather this was just like Monster Hunter World 2 or something, or Monster Hunter World, insert subtitle here, you know, some sort of Oriental or whatever. Because it's like the Switch really there's no benefit for me playing on the Switch. You know, I don't go anywhere, so the portability means nothing to me. And I have a far better computer. So it's really just a lesser experience. But, I mean, what am I going to do? You know, it's either play it or don't play it. Get into a scaling slash. Yes, yes, okay. Full swing nullifies any monster's attack. Wow. Quite a bold claim you got there. Ooh. That wasn't what I wanted to do. Maybe that is what I wanted to do. Oh, okay, I gotta hit something with it. All right, anyways, so we're just gonna spend a little bit more time with the demo here. Just fucking around. You know, maybe we'll hunt some other monsters. Let's go. What is this? A Rathian or no? Arzuros. Let's go hunt that. Yeah. So, I guess let's get into things here. This week on this channel, nothing too unexpected. The Monster Hunter Rise demo was unexpected, and I did my top 10 games of 2020. So really, there was not a whole lot of Let's Playing going on this week. We got like one Cyberpunk video and like one Dragon Quest video in there. I mean, yeah, those have been slowed down. We have gotten in plenty of Final Fantasy, and you know, we're in sort of the home stretch of that. Sort of. I mean, there's like 25 more videos of that, I think, which is not that many. We could be done in a month. Should be done in a month. So that's all well and good. You know, I think Cyberpunk could end this week, possibly. Maybe like next Sunday. I am finished recording it, so just a matter of time. Oh, I fucked that up. Oh, I see. You can go right into the shield slam. Oh, that's a little tricky, though. What? Oh, what? Launch monster. What? What is happening? Okay, this I did not. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. That's cool. Oh, man. Dude, I might have to main Sword and Shield again. I just like it too much. How can you not? Oh, nullified! Get fucked! Oh, shit. No! This thing's, for small monsters, that's hard to land. Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, I gotta... Sorry, I sort of stopped. I stopped chatting. Anywho, I think this week will be mostly pretty normal. We're gonna do something on Wednesday, of course, the variety stream, but other than that, mostly business as usual. Now, this last variety stream, I finished up Blair Witch episode 3, and we're on a bit of a break from Blair Witch, and I had an idea. I don't know, people could weigh in on this, whether or not they think it would be even interesting, but there are tabletop RPGs that are designed to be played solo. Not many, mind you, but they exist. Solo RPGs. And where basically, you know, you are sort of crafting your own story, but there's all these like random tables and things like that, and systems that allow you to, you know, continue to generate the story and decide what happens when things go wrong and blah blah blah. And I've always scoffed at these things because it's like, why would you, you know, it seems kind of sad, really, you know. But there's one that's really been making the rounds. It's been really getting some hype, some popularity. It's called Ironsworn. And it's basically like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the RPG, the solo RPG. Damn, that's really tough to land on this guy. Probably not worth my time. Yeah, that was not good. What's up, Ace? Nice. Not nice. Oh, I was gonna go into the combo. There we go. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I think this is gonna be a pretty fun game. I gotta remember to not fuck that up. They changed the perfect slat, or the whatever. They changed the end of that combo. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. I like that wire bug combo. Rise. Yes, this is Monster Hunter Rise on the Switch. This is the demo. Recommend giving it a try. So anyways, where was I? Right, so Iron Sworn. It's from what I've read, you know, I've been reading through the rule book. It's sort of like a Norse kind of Viking themed solo RPG. That's not like, it's not like high fantasy or anything like that. It's pretty gritty. And when I was reading it, all I could think of was like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, rather than say like God of War. And so I don't know, what I could do then is just do like a 3-hour or something session, just a solo session of this Iron Sworn, and just see how it goes. Because, you know, it's designed to be played solo. Now with people, if people come and chat and like, you know, suggest things to have happen rather than me suggest it, that would be even better. But I don't know. It seems like it could be an interesting idea. Look at all those numbers. Oh my God. The carnage. Oh yes, I'm getting the hang of that. Oh God damn, the carnage. There we go. Launch monster. Oh man, you just keep doing that. Okay, that's interesting. What weapon is this? This is the sword and shield. But the new edition, every weapon now gets this wire bug. It adds a couple special moves, so it's pretty sweet. I'm enjoying it. Oh my God. So I don't know. I'm going to continue to read the PDF, the rule book for Iron Sworn. And I'll make a decision on Wednesday if I want to do a solo session of that or just play some video game. I mean, you know, I'm all about RPGs, so it's tempting. Yeah, so that's what's happening on this channel. Over on the Exploring series, I released a video on the Church of the Second High Toth. Ooh, you can just immediately... Oh, man. You can immediately animation cancel into that wire bug combo to nullify any attack. That's really... Dude, sword and shield. They made it even better. You always find yourself falling asleep to my vids. Well, you know, it's not what every content creator wants to hear, I suppose, but, you know, as long as you're finding enjoyment due to my videos in some form, I guess that's good. So anyways, yeah, Church of the Second High Toth. You know, it was fine. Nothing groundbreaking there. Obviously, it's just one of those sections of SCP that you either like or dislike due to being pretty different from, like, you know, the SCP norm. Bringing in, like, you know, alien deities and sci-fi battles and, you know, things like that. It's like, you either accept that and you enjoy it, or it's just not for you and there's nothing I can do about it. So that's what it is. And what's funny is the video I'll be releasing tomorrow also is pretty sci-fi. It takes place on Mars, so that'll be exciting. And I released a video on the story of Final Fantasy XIV, Episode 1. You know, I was very nervous, very anxious about releasing that. You know, I really just did not know what people would think of it. Because it's pretty different. It's a pretty different thing for my channel. You know, it's not just like going from Star Wars to Norse mythology or, you know, something like that. It's a format shift. And anytime a YouTube channel does a format shift, it's always a little like treading new waters, you know? Will the old audience like it? Will I be able to find a new audience that likes it? Who knows? I mean, the reason I did it is because I figured the side series doesn't matter that much. You know, the SCP stuff is always going to be the main money maker, so it doesn't really matter that much what I do for a side series, but it is something that I enjoy, and it is going to be, you know, a big chunk of time that I spend on it. So you want people to like it. Obviously, the views were not earth-shattering in any way, which is to be expected. It really, no matter what video game I picked, like I said, it's a format shift, and people are just not going to be interested. Final Fantasy especially, a lot of people's eyes just sort of glaze over. But I think the people that did watch it, by and large, did enjoy it. Not all of them. Not all of them. But I did get a lot of, oh my God. I crashed him into this fucking... Really like the FF14 story. You never play it because I don't have much friends. I'm really grateful you can make it now so I can relive it in a way. I mean, I played through the whole Final Fantasy XIV story my first time by myself. Because it's like, it's not really even a thing that you can do with friends, you know? It's really like the actual main story of Final Fantasy XIV is essentially a single-player RPG. There are occasionally group activities you have to do, but the duty finder, you know, just finding random people to do it with is like as simple as possible. and as quick as possible. And even for someone like me that really hates doing things with random people online, even I, didn't have a problem with it. So by and large, it's just kind of a single player thing. It's a really unique MMO. Because, like, I tried to rope a lot of friends in. But, all I could say is, like, okay, well, do the main story, because you got to do the main story in order to unlock everything. And it's like, I can't do the main story with you. So for all my friends, we all, like, got together and we were in Discord together. But, there isn't anything for us to do together, really, other than the occasional dungeon. So, in that sense, it's really not a great MMO to play with friends, at least at the start. Because if it was more of a traditional MMO where we could all just level together and do all these dungeons together as we work towards max level, my friends probably would have stuck around. But the fact that, like, we just couldn't do that much together because they needed to progress through the main story to unlock things, they all kind of got sick of it. Because they were just trying to, like, race through the story just to unlock stuff, and that gets super, super boring. Whereas I stuck with it because I was the only one that actually paid attention to the story. But anyways, that was a nice hit. I talk about this at the end of my Let's Play, at the end of the Final Fantasy XIV Let's Play. But it's really like a tough conundrum. Playing through like getting into Final Fantasy XIV is at this point and in future points is kind of tricky because you really have a few options. You can either play through the entire thing and pay attention to the story, reading all the dialogue as you go, which is how they intend you to play through it. And that takes like 200 hours, like I said, it's a massive investment if you want to catch up on the story from the start. It's a massive investment. If you started the game like when it came out and then just, as they release patches and expansions, you pop back in and you sort of, keep going, that's like not a big deal. You could have easily done that, but getting into it now, it's a huge investment. So that's one option if you have the time and, you want to make that huge effort. Or if you just want to like get to the end so you can do current content and all that, and you just want to experience like the gameplay portions, and you just want to like, watch a little story summary of an hour or 2 hours long, that is absurdly boring because so much of the game is literally you just running from character to character and having dialogue that you're just skipping, and so it's like insanely monotonous. And this is why all of my friends stopped playing, because it just got so monotonous, just skipping dialogue after dialogue and running from point to point. Because most of the main story, other than the occasional dungeons, like there's not a lot of like exciting gameplay moments. It's mostly just like almost like just watching a movie in a lot of ways. Or you can pay for a story skip and a level skip, which will bump you up to Shadowbringers. And you just pay a bunch of money, and you can just skip all the monotonous, boring stuff, and just get close to max level, and then that's not too bad. But it's like, for someone just starting the game, that's not real promising. So it's really like, I don't know what to say or do to get my friends to really play it and get to the end game, get to the end of the game. Because it's those options are shit, and I don't know what Square Enix can really do about that, you know. This is the game at this point, so I love it. I mean, it's my favorite MMO by far, and you know, I made it my job now and all that, but it's not ideal to just try and get into it at this point. So, you know, I'm doing the story summarization because these types of videos don't exist, and I think they should exist. You know, something that sort of bridges the gap and lets you maybe skip everything, you know, and deal with the monotony, but maybe you watch my videos while you do that, and so you get the abridged version that lets you really understand the characters and things like that. But it won't take you 200 hours. I was surprised that the storytelling was more narrating what's happening on screen rather than reading a history book. I'll follow the series. Well, thanks. Yeah, and that's specifically why I didn't call it Exploring Final Fantasy XIV. Not that I won't ever do like lore videos, but this is a different format, and with a summarization in the form of like a lore video, you wouldn't get like a real idea of like Thancred's personality, you know, or like, you know, Alphino's personality in these character development. You just wouldn't get that. So there is, of course, I'm sure, an audience and a benefit to having traditional lore videos where I explain different aspects of the lore, but that's not what I'm setting out to do. I'm setting out to give you the experience of playing through the game and the story and experiencing how these characters develop without actually having to do that. What has been my favorite expansion? Shadowbringers. Like the story of Shadowbringers is really good, but yeah, like the especially like the locations, like the different zones and stuff, were just so much more interesting and evocative compared to Stormblood. Stormblood was such kind of a letdown in that department. There was not like there was like one decent zone in that entire expansion, and everything else was just kind of bland and disgusting. But yeah, Shadowbringers really just has almost everything right. And I'd love to run like an RPG campaign in a setting like Shadowbringers, where like light has sort of just taken over and the characters are trying to like return darkness and things like that. Like, that's such an awesome like twist. Really good stuff. But Heavensward is so much better than A Realm Reborn that it gets a lot of credit just for that. Going from the story of A Realm Reborn into Heavensward is just like, holy shit. Especially like the post expansion patch quests. Oh my god, it was crazy good. wire bug combo. Oh my god, I love it. Is Explorer a canon character? Well, no. I mean, that would be pretty insane. You know, I think like MMOs kind of do that once in a while. They'll like put in fan-made characters, just not like as a main character or anything, but somewhere in the world they'll tuck them away and have a character named after them or something like that. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. If the series really picked up heat and became like the definitive summary of the game, and Square Enix like sponsored it, I guess. I think at least they should give me like an affiliate link for a free trial. I think I should probably even ask for that. Because I'm sure people are going to be trying the game because of it. But yeah, you know, sometime down the line in an expansion, there could be some female character tucked away in a bar named Explorer or something like that. I mean, that would be freaking awesome, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Heaven's Word felt to me like the quintessential fantasy quest in some ways. Dragon's Companion's Journey and all. I mean, yeah, like, yeah. It really just they stepped up their game so much after Realm Reborn. And that's the bummer with doing this series and trying to get people hooked on it. It's like the game starts out really just sort of generic and kind of boring. And it's like, no, wait, just trust me. Just trust me. We got to get through this. And I couldn't just like, I didn't want to just summarize a Realm Reborn in like 2 videos. Because you do really need like the initial character development and all that in order to appreciate everything that comes later. You know, you can't just start on the 3rd book in a series. It just doesn't work. You ended up enjoying A Realm Reborn quite a bit. I mean, it's not like god awful. It's not like, oh, if I really thought it was god awful, like, yeah, I'd probably breeze through it. It's just sort of like, a typical Final Fantasy experience. You know, it's just like, yeah, this is a Final Fantasy game. There you go. It's like, I don't know. It's like Final Fantasy IV or something. It's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's what you'd expect. But then you get to Heaven's Word and Shadowbringers, and it's like, holy shit. Yes, this is like Final Fantasy elevated, you know? So, it's fine, but just in comparison to what comes after, it's, you know, it lacks something. How many videos do you think it'll take to cover Realm Reborn? I sort of mapped it out in my head. Hold on. I had a number. This is just like you asking me off the top of my head without. How can I really be certain? But let me see here. This one. So I think, I mean, this is just a spitball. I would say to get through the end of A Realm Reborn, I would say 8. Maybe, give or take. Now, that's not counting the patch quests, of which there's a whole bunch. So the patch quest might be another 8. But then, you know, I don't. The expansions, I think, are going to take less time overall than that. So I don't. These are all just spitball numbers. That might be, those numbers might be a bit high once I actually get going and start steamrolling through things. It's hard to say. But my original estimate was like, okay, I want to do this in like 30 videos. But that might be a little low, you know. It's hard to say. I mean, obviously, if I make the videos longer, you can make less videos, but it's a lot of work. Will I talk about the raid? I will talk about, in the videos, anything that is mandatory in order to complete the main scenario. The main storyline. So, the Crystal Tower is now mandatory, so that will be covered. But, like, the Ivalice raids are not mandatory in order to do the main scenario, so that won't be talked about. And, like, the Coil of Bahamut or whatever, that's not mandatory, so that won't be talked about. I have to be kind of strict, because, like I said, we're already going to be running out. We're going to be... The video count's going to be way too high as it is. So I have to be kind of strict. Anyways, so by and large, I think people did like it. Those that watched it, and the sentiment generally seemed to be like, "Oh, I can't wait to see more," which is what you want. I mean, yeah, this first video is never going to be the most exciting video in the series, but mostly it needed to entice people. Let them see the format, you know, listen for some feedback, and we'll go from there. And then future videos should be a lot more exciting once we get into, you know, the plot. And once we start doing some dungeons and some raids. You know, one of the questions was like, how am I going to handle dungeons and trials? My initial thought when I first conceived of the series was to do a montage for dungeons. So like just a short musical thing showing off some highlights and mention like the various bosses that we're fighting. But the problem with that, of course, is copyright. If I have music playing in the foreground, that's a big copyright risk. So obviously we're going to be getting right into that in the second video. We're going to be doing 3 dungeons in a row very quickly. So we'll test the montage. We'll see how it goes. I probably will be looking to like remix music just to maybe give me better odds of dodging some copyrights. But there's no guarantee. And if I get copyright claimed, I'll take it down and I'll retool it and I'll just voice over and fuck it. It won't be as exciting, it won't be as cool, but that's YouTube. What made me choose Paladin Gladiator? my idea was to have the most generic character possible. That was the idea. That's why I picked a here. Just a very boring looking character. And I figured like Paladin is sort of like the most generic hero kind of character possible. I also like Paladin as a class, so that helps. And also being a tank, I think sets up for the best action shots. So like when I'm doing like the montages and stuff, or you know, I'm doing trials and we're fighting Titan, it's a fuckload cooler to have me standing right in front of it, sword and shield, you know, tanking this boss as the hero, rather than me like sitting in the back as a bard or you know something like that. Like it's just not as cool. So, and it you know, yeah, like if the warrior of light, the main hero of the land, it's just like, yeah, it's a paladin. It's got to be. For narrative purposes, I felt it. Now, when I did my Let's Play, obviously I was a fucking healer, so it doesn't really it doesn't matter. But for this video series, I felt it was the best bet. There's a reason that Ardbert wasn't a white mage. Yeah, exactly. It's just better to have the hero be the one front and center, challenging the monsters. Who are some of my favorite NPCs? Kryl is my favorite. Oh fuck, there we go. Kryl's probably my favorite. Tataru I like. I like Alizé. Alphino I sort of like go back and forth on. Sometimes he's just kind of like an annoying asshole, and other times it's like, all right, I can stand by Alphino. I like Thancred, of course, because who doesn't? I liked Horshaphant. Horshaphant grew on me quite a bit, and I think his death, spoiler alert, was actually like the most like poignant in the whole game. Like his was the only death I cared about. You know, like Minfilia, what the fuck ever, who cares? But Horshaphant, come on. My view on Alphino is the same as Alizé's view on me. Yeah. Like Alizé is just like a more interesting character in like every way. So I don't know. Yeah, and it's just there's a lot of characters. There's a lot of characters in that whole story. Raubon, of course. I mean, Raubon just really has an epic storyline throughout the whole thing. And it's funny because it's like the other leaders, you know, no one really cares. Merlvib, who cares? She doesn't really do anything. I mean, maybe at some point in the future expansion, one of the other leaders will be really involved, but Raubon's just been everywhere. He's been involved in everything. Emmerich was a bit generic, hero-y, but I loved him anyways. I thought he was a villain at first. If you watch my Let's Play when he was first introduced, I thought he was like a bad guy and he was going to screw us over. And I saw like a post on the subreddit that somebody else thought the exact same thing. He came off as just like this this sort of generic villain. But yeah, he grew on me as well. And that's the thing, like, you need this, like, you need the character development. You need the dialogue, and you need the progression and the arcs in order to appreciate it all. And those story summaries that are like, you know, an hour long or 2 hours long, you don't get any of that. And that's really what I want to fix with my videos. Is give you that character development as much as I can without being bogged down in all the bullshit. You know, you're not going to see running back and forth or, you know, while you're sitting in queues or blah, blah, blah. I mean, we covered a decent chunk of gameplay in the first video. So yeah. What did I think of the confrontation with Emmitt? Well, Emmitt Selk was my favorite villain. Like, I thought he was the best in the game. As far as being like an understandable villain, like something you could sort of sympathize with. You know, he's a bad dude, you gotta kick his ass, I get that, it's Final Fantasy, but compared to like Xenos, like there's no sympathizing whatsoever with anything Xenos did. So that's again another reason why Shadowbring is the best expansion. They have the best villain. And the whole, yeah, the whole final battle sequence, the whole final trial and all that is just... That's Final Fantasy XIV at its best at this point. But I didn't really, you know, I didn't want him to die. Like, Xenos is still fucking around. But... moving on, though, we got other stuff to talk about. This has been going on for a while. So that, yeah, I gotta record a lot of Final Fantasy. Woe is me. For my job, I have to sit down and play Final Fantasy XIV. I did another family D&D session yesterday. And my nephew joined us for the first time. This is his first time playing D&D. So we had 6 players. You know how long it's been since like my normal D&D group had 6 fucking players? And I decided to run a Dungeon Crawl Classics module called Into the Wilds. Ooh, there goes the tail. The Dungeon Crawl Classics stuff, I mean, is very, like, traditional D&D. There's a lot of dungeon crawling, there's traps, there's ambushes. I mean, pretty much over half of the rooms you walk into, you're gonna just get attacked by some sort of creature. So it's traditional D&D kind of stuff, which I don't care for. I would never really like. But, you know, for a fairly fresh group, it's sort of a non-complicated kind of thing. So so we're using Knave. We're not playing D&D, but that's what we say. So we're playing Knave, which is a very simple system, compatible with old school modules. And the reason we're not playing like D&D or something a little more complicated is because these people in my family don't like to read anything. They don't want to read anything. They don't want to customize their characters like that. You know, they don't want to have to look at rule books and things like that. They just want to sit down and play like a board game. So, you know, I could handle like all the character development and, you know, character creation and leveling up. I could handle all that for them and just give them some options, but it's sort of easier to just use a simple system. But sometimes they want to do special things, you know, which is understandable. I would certainly want to. Like my sister wanted to be able to she wanted to be like a beastmaster. She wanted to be able to talk to animals and control animals. So I decided, okay, what I'm going to do then, I think the simplest way to handle this without just giving her a special ability and making her a unique snowflake is to give each person one special ability. They can do one special thing that only they can. And, you know, we're not talking about classes or anything like that. It's just any ability, any power, any magical thing that you can think of, you can have one thing, you know, and with limitations, blah, 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 as imposed by me. So they liked that. Everyone came up with something. So my sister, of course, took the speaking with animals. She can speak with animals. My aunt took invisibility. So I might have made it like 3 times per day or once per day or something like that. I put a limitation on it. For a short time, she and all her possessions can turn invisible. My brother-in-law took a force shield. So a few times per day, he can create an invisible force shield around himself that gives him like an armor bonus. My nephew took the ability to see through walls. So he can see through walls and see like enemies and living creatures and things like that. My dad, who again, this is like his 3rd session now, so he's very new. He decided to take the ability to Hulk out. He wanted to be able to become the Hulk. And, you know, I'll humor him. Obviously, this is a far better ability than being able to see through walls. So I said once per day for like 10 minutes or less, depending on how he utilizes it, he can essentially become the Hulk. He'll become much bigger, much stronger, much more durable. You know, I didn't attach any like specific stats or anything like it. I just said, okay, you can become the Hulk once per day for 10 minutes. And he was very pleased with that. He didn't actually do it yet. There were a lot of situations in that session where he's like, well, I could become the Hulk. You know, if that would help. They were like thinking about trying to cross a river that had like a rope bridge, but they were like, I don't know if we trust this rope bridge. He could just Hulk out and we could get in the wagon and he could just, you know, jump across with us. And it's like, yeah, you could do that. I mean, you know, what do I care if they don't take the bridge and they waste their Hulk out ability to just jump across? Like, that doesn't bother me. But no, he decided he's holding on to it. And I'm sure once they get into some fucking crazy combat, he's going to Hulk out and it's going to be crazy. And then everyone else will be like, I want to do that too. I don't want to see through walls. I want to do that. And it's like, well, he had a good thought. When did they get to take back darkness in a land corrupted by light? I don't know. I'm terrible at coming up with my own shit. Like, I'm not a good DM for that. I'm not creative. So that's why I only run like pre-written things. That would be cool, although I think that storyline would probably be wasted on them a little bit. But anyways, so the storyline of this Into the Wilds module is basically there's this fortress on like the edge of the wilds, you know, this frontier fortress, this small settlement, and the Baron of this fortress, the leader, his whole family has been under the effects of this curse. Because a couple hundred years ago, some thief stole some heirlooms, some family heirlooms, and he hid them away in the mountains, and they've never been recovered. So ever since then, like every male heir of the family has died at a young age. And it's like, I don't know why this curse has spread this way. You know, I don't know how this started, but it's magic. Who cares? So they're out here essentially to find treasure, solve the curse, get rewarded, blah, blah, blah. Standard D&D fare. So yeah, I mean, as soon as they like arrived, they got ambushed by like goblins riding giant bats. They saved some farmer. They got into the town, they poked around, they did a little, you know, rummaging, rumor mongering, trying to figure out what they're trying to do. And they know they've got to head to the north, up to these crazy mountains, because that's where all the bad stuff is. Get the crown, save the town, and Mr. Krabs. Yeah, essentially. But their first night, they decide, okay, let's get some rooms at the inn. Let's get some rooms at the inn, and first thing in the morning, we'll head out. And I'm like, okay, you know, you pay for your rooms, you all settle in, and the night passes, and my nephew's like, wait, hold up. Hold up. And I'm like, no, you fuck. Because I know exactly what that hold up means. I know what it means when a new player playing a thief at night tells the DM to hold on. So, of course, he wants to steal things. And this is a problem for a lot of new players. And I think a lot of DMs sort of cater to them a little too much. I know my DM did when I first did this. You know, a lot of new players, especially if they're playing thieves, they have a very video game ideology. Especially if you're fans of like the Elder Scrolls games, you know, which I know my nephew is. You know, games where it's like you're the main character, it's all about you, and your actions are the only actions that matter in the world. And if you want to spend your time stealing things at night, you can, and there's little repercussions. And that's how you spend your time, and that's fine. That's a video game. But when you enter into a tabletop RPG, other people have to now enter your consideration. And so it's not even, it's not a big deal. It's not like wrong or bad to want to steal things as a thief. I mean, generally, you know, you want to play good characters and blah, 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 blah. But whatever. That's not the issue. The issue is always you are making yourself the center of attention, and you are holding up the entire game to cater to your whims. And that's never good. And I say this as someone that did this frequently, and I have learned my lesson. Anytime that you are doing things on your own, or you are separating the party in some sense, you are taking away other people's enjoyment. And it's not always like the worst thing to do. It's not always like you shouldn't do that because you're wrong and it's bad. But you need to be very careful. I mean, it's perfectly fine if a group like splits up in town because they each have different things they want to do. That's fine. But going off at night on your own to just steal from people, it's a little more questionable. And the DM sort of needs to rein this in. The DM, really, if this happens, I mean, you can't say, no, you don't do that. But what you really should do is just make it like one dice roll. Just make it like one stealth roll or something like that. And if they succeed, you get some money, you go to bed, whatever. If you get caught, you know, at that point you could make it a little bit more interesting if you want. I think they do need to sort of learn a lesson. This is generally an activity that should be discouraged. So if they get caught, they should be punished. But I mean, you could really just... The player will probably want to like try and finagle their way out and try and flee or escape and blah, blah, blah. And that's the issue, is it just becomes their little adventure, and no one wants that. Except for the one thief, or whatever. You said earlier, dungeon crawling combat mechanic focused campaigns aren't my cup of tea. That is very true. This campaign I would detest. I would have no interest in this. But it's not my thing. Like, I'm not playing. My preferred thing would be the first adventure I ran, where they had to come up with this heist to kidnap this archpriest. That would be my preferred thing. But they didn't care for it, so it doesn't matter what I would like, it's what they would like. So I don't know how anyone would like just doing like combat like this over and over in different rooms with like really no like special powers and special abilities on your turn. You just sort of are playing whack-a-mole. But I asked my dad afterwards what he thought, and he's like, it was a little boring. Hopefully next time there will be a lot more combat. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you want, you know. I'm not playing, so. You found that individual stuff like that works best in totally separate one-on-one sessions. But yeah, but we're an hour into this session, the whole table's there. Like, I can't pause the storyline. It has to be dealt with. So you either have to say no or you have to deal with this somehow. And generally as a DM, you don't want to say no. You can't do that. So anyways, what happened was I thought he would just like try and steal from some other people in the inn, you know, and we would do a simple dice roll and maybe he'd get a few gold out of it. The problem was he was really poor because all the others had a whole bunch of money from the first couple sessions and he was really poor, so he wanted money. What he did though was he decided rather than stealing from some strangers, he's gonna try to steal from my aunt, another player in the group. This is a big no-no. This is a big no-no. But again, I couldn't just say, no, you don't do that, idiot. You're a big stupid head. I just have to be the arbiter of you know, what they say and what they do. So he snuck into her room and he went to go steal from her pockets because she was rich. And I'm like, all right, roll your stealth. You know, my aunt can roll to see if she notices. She succeeded. He did not. So she noticed him sort of prowling over her, so hunched over her. And she's like, I sleep with a knife under my pillow at all times, so I'm gonna slash at him. And she's playing sort of a thief character herself as well, so I'm like, all right, it makes sense, you know. She's a paranoid, kind of cautious character, so she pulls out the dagger and slashes at him. She misses. She actually misses. And I'm like, okay, maybe things will cool down, you know, maybe they'll like put him, you know, they'll keep their eyes on him at all times now, or something. They won't trust him. But no, it didn't end there. She continued to attack him as he tried to flee. He made no attempts to attack back. He just tried to like run away, and she just continued to wail on him. And we're playing, you know, like an OSR system, so there's not a lot of HP involved. So very quickly, she brings him down to 1 HP. Everyone else in the group is now awake. My mom is trying to like diffuse the situation frantically. You know, my mom's like, okay, he learned his lesson, you know, he's stupid, you know, he won't do it again. He won't do it again. And my aunt's just furious. Not furious, but she's upset that he went straight for her pockets. And in order to try and bluff his way out of this, he says that he was just trying to steal back his marbles that she stole from him, which, of course, she never stole his marbles. And specifically in her character's backstory, meager as it was, she mentions that earlier in her life, she was framed for a crime she did not commit. So this especially ticked her off, and she decided, I'm going to attack him again. And it's like, okay, you know, I can't stop you. She, of course, crits when he's at 1 HP. So he gets utterly obliterated. I mean, he's a smear on the wall. And it's like, well, he learned his lesson. He learned his lesson. So he just whipped up a new character real fast, and they brought him back into the party, and they just continued on. She was arrested. There was an inquiry, but, you know, 5 other people vouched for her or whatever, so really nothing bad happened of it. He just was really, really stupid. So maybe he'll always remember. That was his first D&D character. Just utter idiocy. Yeah. So anyway, you know, they continued doing some rumor mongering. They did some shopping because their last mission, I gave them 2,000 gold, which was an absurd amount. But I'm like, all right, you know, these people need all the help they can get. So I gave them just an absurd amount of money. And they did some shopping in the capital city before they left. And I'm like, anything you can think of, you could probably find it here to buy for the right price. So My mom bought some spell books. I thought they would buy way more like magic weapons and armor and stuff, but mostly they spent their money on like potions. Because I'm like, you know, it's D&D, it's high fantasy. There are potions of any. You can buy a potion that gives you anything, any sort of effect. So they bought some potions of like flight. They bought a lot of like healing potions. Bought a potion that lets them breathe underwater. Just all sorts of potions. And we're not worrying about like inventory capacities and things like that. So whatever. They need all the help they can get. But yeah, eventually they're like, all right, we need to head out towards the north, towards the mountains. So on the road north, the short path up to the mountains, the module has them get ambushed twice by two different groups, a group of goblins and a group of cannibals. So this short path had two ambushes, and I'm like, all right, here's your combat. And to me, as a player, this just seems absurdly boring. It's literally just like, you know, this simple grid combat. Roll your dice to shoot your bow or swing your sword. Oh, you missed. Okay, they swing. All right, they miss. It's just like... But some people like it. Some people like playing D&D because of combat. So, I don't know. I don't get it. But if that's what they enjoy, then all the power to them. So they won both their combats. No one died because I'm being kind of nice. And we ended right as they got to the foot of the mountains. So next time they'll actually be doing dungeon crawling with traps and hazards and all sorts of fun stuff. So we'll see how that goes. You know, I don't really like to DM, but I've got 6 players now that are all kind of invested and want to do it every week. So I can't stop, you know. Is what it is. It'd be nicer if they were better players, or if we had even one experienced player in the group. That would be nice. Someone that could just sort of lead them and be like, no, you're an idiot, this is what we do, and, you know, just someone that knew that what they were doing. But this is all new people. And it'd be nice if they actually like to read and customize their characters and be invested in character development, and I could use like Shadow of the Demon Lord instead of Knave. But you usually talk your way out, but my DM doesn't like it because it somehow ends with new allies. Why would your DM not like that? I would not be able to live with that DM. What I always say is, if I end up in combat, I have failed. If combat has initiated, I have failed in my duty, because there should always be a way out to avoid combat. And I have a DM that is very accommodating of that. So, yeah, combat is really not my bag. Enemies are vital as enemies. I don't know. If you can find a way to make your enemies your allies, that's like win-win. I mean, you're always going to have enemies that are strictly enemies, but your DM should not be biased one way or the other on which it rolls. You know, the DM is just there as sort of an arbiter. The DM should not have an opinion on the matter, really. Your sister's playing in one of your campaigns. She's playing alongside 4 or 5 your veterans. Difference is stark. Yeah, I could believe that. Yeah, even if I had 1 veteran, it would be nice, but having none is... Especially for me as a DM, I don't like DMing that much. I'm not that good at it. And what I like to play, like what I would like in a campaign as a player, is very different from what they would like as players. And so that sort of fucks me up. Because in my head, I have a certain mindset of how a campaign should be and how things should happen and progress, and I just said a DM shouldn't have an opinion, but I guess what I mean is like I said, this module that I'm running is something that I would hate as a player, but I have to get out of that mindset, you know. I just have to run something that they would like. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys updated. Last thing, I guess. How long have we been going? Oh my god, hour and 15. Some of you might be curious, I suppose, about how this other issue is going. With this female. Hold on, I have a message. Okay. You know, she's sending me memes now. I think that sort of sums it up. You know, I thought this was supposed to be like a super fan. I thought she was like a super fan, you know. And you'd think that a super fan would know not to send me memes. So yeah, obviously I did not cut off all contact with her. Yeah, like in the past when I was younger, I would chase after girls way out of my league, and they would sort of like ghost me. Or yeah, they would kind of just like sort of brush me off, but never like say directly like, "Hey, I'm not interested. We should just cut this off at the head." If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have to watch the end of the last Hang with Mangg. I'm not going to go into all the details again. It's worth your while, I suppose, to watch the last one. Memes are a lot of people's default if they don't know what else to say to someone. Yeah, that's sort of the problem nowadays, isn't it? But anyways, I always hated it when girls did that to me. Like, and I would say, like, why don't they just say, "Hey, I'm not interested"? Just why lure me along like this? And yet here I am doing the same fucking thing. And I think it's cruel. I think it's cruel when it happened to me, and I think it's cruel what I'm doing. But now I guess I can understand a little bit. I can understand a little bit more of why it's done. Of why you lure someone, you know, lead someone along like this, rather than just being definitive. You know, she's nice. She's nice. And that's part of the problem. If she was just fucking raving lunatic, you know, some batshit crazy girl that was just sending me memes, I'd be like, all right, let's cut this off. But you know, she's nice, and so I just feel like we can just be nice chat pals. I mean, that's it. I put her in horny jail. I did that. I had to do that. I bonked her, put her in horny jail. So we cut all that off. And so I think she's sort of losing interest. I feel like, and I didn't, you know, this is me speculating. I feel like she had this sort of infatuation. Just like this big crush. Almost like she's, I want to say like she fetishized me or something like that. And so when you cut off the sort of sexual aspect, it's like she loses her energy. I cut her off at the source. You know, I don't think this is a girl that's really just like interested in me as a person. She just sort of like built this idea of me in her head just from watching videos. And then once you get to know me, like I said, she finds out I'm really fucking boring and I just play video games all day. And, you know, you lose interest. So I think given time, this will just sort of fade into non-existence, and that'll be it. That sounds super uncomfortable to be like fetishized. Yeah, that's why I had to cut that off. It's just, that's not something cool. I'm sure some guys would just be like over the moon. I mean, like I said, she is very attractive. But if I was a younger guy, if I was younger in my life, I would have already bought her a green card. I mean, it would have been like, I'd have been making some big mistakes in my life. But at this point, I'm like an old man, you know. I just want to fucking play Monster Hunter Rise with you, all right? I don't need all your nude photos. It's very old. They're turning into a fucking boomer here. But that's the way it is. I'd rather play Monster Hunter Rise with you than receive nude photos. And if you got a problem with that, well then, you know, then that's the end of it. She basically knows all about me. Well, that's the thing. She doesn't know all about me. That's what I thought would happen when you have some crazed super fan start sending you nudes. I thought she would be like, she would know like my address already or something, you know, she would be like every aspect of my life. But she didn't even know, she doesn't even know I have a gaming channel. Like, that seems like pretty basic stuff for a super fan. So really, that's why I think she's just sort of like fetishized me. She watches the SCP videos. She thinks I have an erotic voice, and she's just sort of built up this image of me. She said she thought that I would be like super arrogant and confident when she first started messaging me, and it's like, you don't know anything about me. Would be odd if she was watching. Yeah, I really don't think so. I would have heard something during the week from when I talked all about her last time. So she's nice, but we're not compatible. And if she was really into video games, I'd probably make more of an effort. Or I would probably be a bit more interested and try to see where it goes. But if you don't like video games, we got nothing to talk about. That's the end of it. I can't be interested in a girl that isn't at least like, that doesn't even give him a chance, you know? Like, nothing. Like, I understand, you know, finding a girl that's like as interested in video games as I am is pretty fucking rare. But, you know, a lot of girls will nowadays, you know, will play something. They'll play Fortnite, or they'll play Minecraft, or The Sims, you know, something. But to play nothing, it's like an alien. Like, I don't know how to fundamentally communicate with you. You think it would be nice to talk about something different? I just feel like, you know, where would our life go? You know, I spend like 14 hours a day in front of a computer, you know, and I'm not saying like if I got married or, you know, I would do other things, of course, but it's like, it's a big part of my life. It's my hobby. It's my job. It's, you know. I mean, she does like horror. That's a plus. She does apparently play D&D, or she used to, but I don't know. Based on what she said, I don't think I'd really want to play D&D with her. She seems like the group she's played in is one of those really like kind of vindictive groups where everyone's sort of trying to like fuck each other over, and it's like a very competitive group, and the DM is like a real asshole. She actually used the C word to describe her DM in like a positive way. Like that the DM's always trying to get them, and that's like a good thing, and it's like, what? So I don't know. She's God. I mean, it's something to talk about, I guess. It's something for hanging with Mangg, so maybe that's why I'm stringing her along, is so I have something to talk about on hanging with Mangg. I mean, it's not like she's like some source of stress in my life, or I'm like overly concerned about this. She's not like, I mean, she's not like messaging me every 5 minutes or something like that. I mean, she'll go hours without messaging me. So she's not like I said, since I put her in horny jail, it's really died down. And so I think things will just sort of peter out at this rate, which is probably for the best. No like big confrontation, or hopefully no stalking. Only a matter of time before she watches live, I guess. I mean, I don't think I've said anything that bad about her. Don't you think you should have waited to talk about this until it de-escalated? If I actually thought she watched the channel, yes, I probably would have waited. But the fact she didn't even know I had a gaming channel at this point, and she has zero interest in anything to do with video games, it's pretty slim she'll watch through to the end of Hanging with Mangg, episode 329. So pretty slim. Anyways, yeah, there's not a whole lot to say. Last episode was really like the big info dump. So I guess we'll leave it off there. Yeah, so check out the video on SCP-4011 tomorrow about a Foundation facility on Mars. We got more Final Fantasy XIV on this channel this week, not on the Exploring series. More Cyberpunk, more Dragon Quest. Wednesday, possibly this Iron Sworn RPG thing. Possibly not. We'll see. And yeah, that should be that. Should be all good. And more Two Brothers Play Final Fantasy VI. Alrighty. Thank you all for watching. Glad you could join me. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. See you fine folks next week.